Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and your social media marketing and help you stay social. After all, don't you want to be the business everyone's talking about? I know I do. And I am so stoked today to have Burton with me. Burton, tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Lorraine. A little about me is that I'm a Kansas City native. I own a tech support company by the name of Integral. And the main reason I started the company was just to help people out. I know there are a lot of tech guys that like doing tech stuff, and I'm not that guy. When I'm at the end of the day, last thing I want to touch is a broken computer. But I like helping people out and making sure that people get the most from the technology that they use day in and day out, because we know it's pretty darn complicated, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, you're so needed. You don't know how many, I work with a lot of baby boomers sometimes, and sometimes they just can't get it right, and I'm a baby boomer, so I can say that sometimes just technology does not seem to be working. So I totally understand that. And I feel that it's one field that, like if you hire, like sometimes you have problems with your computer and you do hire a tech person and they actually really don't help you. They may discover what's wrong, okay, and they may fix it. But the problem is usually that same problem is going to happen again. And then you're still left with now not knowing how to fix it. So tell me a little bit about, like, first of all, how, like, if I needed help, okay, how am I going to find out that you're the tech guy for me? That, like, why the name Integral, and how does that, what I'm saying? How does that?
I do, and I'm laughing because that's one of the challenges we run into with a lot of the senior or older adult customers that we work with. And the main thing is patience that not the older adult, but that the technician needs to have with the customer to ensure they get a grasp of understanding what you're trying to fix or what you're trying to teach them. Because for many people, technology is just new, and you have to explain it as if you were explaining it to like a pre-K student so that they can get a greater grasp of how the technology works. And it's not to say that if you're an older adult, it's impossible to learn technology, because we've got customers in their 90s. And I think the oldest one that we've worked with is a lady who's 101 years old, who knows how to use an iPhone, an iPad, knows how to stream on streaming services, knows how to do FaceTime. So the sky's the limit with technology, and it doesn't matter what age you are. You can always get a strong grasp of it and understand how it works.
Yeah. So tell me about some of the problems, the exact problems. Like, what kind of software are people having problems with, or what kind of technology do you see? I mean, are they having trouble with their settings on their iPhone? What is the biggest, I would say, problem that comes up all the time for some of your customers?
The biggest is the scams and the different viruses. Viruses don't really exist anymore, but yeah, just different scams that older adults may come across. Like, you've got text scams, you've got voice scams, you've got email phishing. And that's the biggest concern with older adults, because obviously they don't want to lose any money that they've earned over the years. And, there's a sense of embarrassment if they do fall for a scam. But I mean, it happens to everybody. But for the most part, since everything is web-based, most adults know how to navigate a website. They know how to check email. If they have a portable device like a smartphone or a tablet, they know how to get the places that they need to go. But, those scams that come in different forms, those are the calls that we receive the most. And it's just, again, like I said, just being patient, making sure that you're talking in terminology that they can understand, and making sure that they know how to, and this is the big one, Lorraine, how to navigate that problem if it occurs again. Because like you said, it will occur again. And most people just fix and leave, but it's important to fix and also educate at the same time so that anybody of any age can say, hey, I've encountered this problem before. This is how I get from point A to point Z and continue doing what I love to do.
Right. I recently went to, I heard a talk on cybersecurity, and it was very interesting. And the person who had been in cybersecurity for over 20 years, and now they have their own company. And one of the questions was, I guess and I'm probably saying it wrong because I honestly, I'm not using any kind of protection on my computer at all because I feel like it messes up my computer even more. So, but there's McAfee out there, and there's a few other, Norton is another one. And she had like this chart, and actually there are more ins to their security. It breaks security quicker having some of those security softwares that are supposed to protect you. And I found that to be interesting. And do you recommend, is there anything that you recommend for your clients who do a lot of browsing that's going to protect them from clicking that link that's going to, ransomware or...
Right. I get what you're saying, Lorraine. So the thing that if anyone takes away from this podcast is that 99% of cybercrime requires user interaction. So as long as you're not clicking on stuff or verbally giving out information or even allowing criminals to log into your computer, all tech devices are perfectly safe. So with you being a dual Windows and a Macintosh user, Mac's, the operating system itself, has virus protection in it. Same thing with Windows, except Windows has Windows Defender built in. So there's no need for any third-party antivirus software like your Nortons or your McAfee's or Kaspersky's. And the thing that you have to worry about with some of the third-party antivirus software is a lot of it is developed overseas. And the privacy laws overseas aren't the same as they are in the United States. So if you say, let's have Trend Micro, which is out of Japan on your computer, then the privacy laws may allow them to scan your computer and look for important stuff that they can sell on to third-party vendors. Same thing with AVG or ESET antivirus, which is made in the Netherlands. Their privacy laws are pretty nice, but we don't know the aspects of how they're going to use that software. So to use what's already on your computer is probably the best thing to do, because obviously Apple is developing their software in the United States. And the same thing with Microsoft with Windows Defenders. Built here, they can't scan your computer and steal stuff. So you're better off educating yourself to figure out how to spot a scam to keep your device safe. Because again, it would take someone giving up control of their device to someone else or clicking on a link for a criminal to get in. And it's just best to just teach yourself and stay on top of whatever the latest scams that are going on in order to keep yourself and your devices safe.
Wow, I actually didn't know that I had some inner protection wear in my Mac. So that's kind of good to know. It's funny, this is a terrible thing to do, but everybody's gotten that email that you have some long lost relative, overseas and everything, and they want to give you $1 million and give them your bank account number and all the personal information. And one day I decided I could no longer take any more of these. So I decided to have a conversation with this person. I said, oh, I'm so glad that I have a relative that lives in this country and I've always wanted to visit. So tell me what hospital you're at and I'll come and visit you right now. And, they always say sir or madam. I don't really think that they know your name. And they just they have this canned thing that they just keep saying over and over again. So, it just was a fun thing to do. And I probably had way better things to do than do that. But I just decided, let's have some fun with these people. Right. But yeah, I know people that have fallen for that though.
Well, I was going to caution you on that, because I know a lot of people online will say, well, I want to mess with the scammers, but you don't know how much information they have about you. You don't know if they've got your phone number, your address, which they can easily find on the internet. So in a lot of instances, even though they don't use your name, they may know a lot about you. So sometimes it's just a random cold call. Other times it's someone or a criminal that kind of has a lot of background information on you. So it's always best just to kind of hang that up, even as tempting as it is to try to play around with those criminals. But I mean, they are criminals and they're working for a large criminal organization. It's just not, some nerds in the basement doing it. So yeah.
No, you're probably right. Interestingly enough, last week, a friend of mine had called me and said that I had sent them a text message. So a text message asking them to buy Google Play card. My friend knew that first of all, I'm not a big Google Play person either, and said that, and plus I would never ask somebody to buy me cards. I would go out and get them myself. The verbiage was right because I spoke at an event. So I know where the person found out that information. And I know, I think about 30 people liked that particular post so they had names, and somehow they were able to get friends' phone, cell phone numbers, so they could text them. And I thought that was really a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's easy to get off the dark web because criminals have profiles, which are called FULs, FUL, I think it's LZ. But anyway, it contains every little bit of information that cyber criminals gather about you. So it's not hard for them to pull scams like the Google Play Card scam, or even the grandparent scam or the emergency scam, where they were saying little Timmy fell down a well and somehow he needs money to get out of the well. And of course, as a grandparent, you're like, oh, I don't want my grandchild hurt or harmed. So then they send money. So, I mean, that's how they get that pertinent information. And social media plays a big factor in that as well, because on social media, all your information's out there. Criminals are scanning those accounts and using them to their advantage.
Yeah, they've gotten they haven't gotten him, but they've called my father, who is a grandfather. And interestingly enough, I had told him a long time ago, my kids will never ask you for money. Never. Do not give money. If they need money, they can make it themselves, or they can ask me for money if it's an emergency. But I hope they're not listening right now. So, no, I'm not giving you money. But so no, it's important, and they really do go after the old people with that one, because I've seen it happen over and over again, and a lot of people do fall for it. So just be careful out there. I really appreciate you mentioning all the scams that are out there, because you're right. You're not going to get hurt by a scam unless you click it or engage with them. So just be careful. So besides scams and besides, do you help people with software like Navigate? I don't know. I can't even think of the name of it now, but Outlook and Google Documents and that type of stuff, if people are having trouble with that.
Yeah, we work with hardware and software. So all that fun stuff that Geek Squad does, we do. So the big thing with Outlook, I'll make it quick, is Outlook no longer works with those free email accounts you have. So a lot of people are used to using Outlook with, say, Gmail or, say, Time Warner or even Yahoo. But Microsoft or those companies don't support Outlook anymore. And we've seen quite a bit of that. I mean, Outlook's a real popular program. So one of the things that we have to tell people is that, sorry, you've got to go back to your web-based application, like go to yahoo.com or to gmail.com, and you can't use Outlook anymore because it's no longer supported. But yeah, little quirky things like that we help with. And of course, there are people that struggle with QuickBooks and Word and Google Docs. So yeah, we can definitely walk people through all of those challenges and help them come up with at least a solution that's going to allow them to function and continue to use that technology efficiently.
Yeah, no, that it's good. And see, there's not a lot, there probably is, but I just don't notice it as much. But I do a lot of networking, and there's not very many people like you that are in my group. So you're needed. And I know that every once in a while, a lot of people will, I buy my leads, and sometimes they'll ask me if I could do this. like, no, I can do it, but no, I don't want to do it because I'm not a tech person and I don't want to pay, $33 per lead to fix somebody's that's a setting, or whatever that I have to spend an hour looking for. So it's and when you work with it all the time, it's a lot easier for someone who works with it a lot. I'm a big believer that if I don't know how to do something, I delegate it. And if there's something coming up, I don't want to deal with it.
Right. And I think one of the challenges people run into with computers and technology is most people think that they should know it and that they're going to come out of the womb knowing it. But even though kids know how to play games on newer devices, they don't know how to do business stuff on devices. Name me a teenager out there that knows how to go into QuickBooks or that can put together an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't happen. And adults fall prey to that mindset of, well, I should know this. And they get embarrassed to call in help or feel that it's a waste of money because there's somebody out there that can do what they are supposed to do. But I think we as adults just need to come to the conclusion that when it comes to technology, you just have to let the big guns at least set it up for you. And then that way you can kind of continue and move on. And I think that's the mistake that we see quite a bit. And the simple fact that when we come in, you're talking about hours of work that sometimes has to be done. Whereas if they would have called initially, it probably could have been done in less than an hour. So it's one of the biggest challenges we run into, but
Wow.
It happens.
It's interesting. Do you, by the way, do you work remotely? Is that or do you just work with local people?
No, we've got customers all over the U.S. that we work with remotely. There's a lot of tech stuff that can be done remotely, but obviously, let's say if we were dealing with an older adult trying to set up a new computer, instances like that, you may have to be on site just because of the manual task of putting away the old computer and setting up the new computer. But I would say probably 80% of most tech stuff can be done remotely.
Yeah, absolutely. I had somebody one time, I was having a problem and they remoted me in. I can't think of the name of the software they used. It was kind of cool.
Was it Team Viewer?
No, it was something else.
Zoho Assist?
That's what it was. What is your remote of choice? Because there is one that I used once. I just can't think of the name of it.
Well, for Windows users, the thing that they have built into Windows 10 and 11 is a program called Quick Assist, which is installed on every Windows computer out there. So as long as you open up Quick Assist, it makes it easier for you to get access to someone's Windows computer. Because sometimes you have to send a verification code via text or email. Many people don't understand that aspect. With Quick Assist, it's just show me the code that's on your screen and you type it in and then voila, you're in someone's computer. For Macs, it's a little bit difficult. You would have to go with Zoho or TeamViewer in order to get access to a Macintosh computer. Right. But I really don't have a favorite. As long as I can get in and get access to a computer. Same thing with my team members. We'll go with anything that works.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I know that I haven't seen it lately, but on Zoom I was able to take over their screen, and yes. I haven't used it lately though. But it was kind of I'm sure it still exists. I just haven't used it lately.
Yeah, that's Zoom is a good one because obviously in that instance you can video conference somebody and remotely take over somebody's computer. And I think it's more geared towards premium Zoom users.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, if you were listening and you've got a free version of Zoom, it ain't gonna work. You've got to pay the premium price, or at least the middle of the line price, in order to get the remote assist. But that's really a good tool to use.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I have a lot of people out there that are listening that are, wanting to start their own business or just started their own business. And we have some people that have been longtime business owners, but have had to shift, or the popular word was they had to pivot a little bit during the pandemic. So I want to ask you this: what do you enjoy most about being in business for yourself?
Just freedom. The freedom to kind of do whatever the heck you want to. Obviously, if you're a solopreneur, that freedom is somewhat limited. I mean, you can set your own hours, but anytime you're in business, you're obligated to your customers. But once you start putting together team members, whether it's virtual staff or realistic staff, you can train them to do the mundane day to day, which gives you a little bit more freedom to go network or grow the business. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I enjoy out of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, me too. Definitely me too. I asked that question first, but it wouldn't be fair. Everybody thinks that it's a piece of cake and it's a walk in the park. What would you say your biggest challenge is of being in business for yourself?
It would be the motivation of the day-to-day grind of having to make sure that your business is up and running, especially if you're a solopreneur. I mean, you are the one that's going to have to get up, return emails, answer the phone calls, and just make sure that you stay consistent with following up with your customer base to make sure that you've performed a decent job. And then also there's the invoicing and collecting money on jobs. So, I mean, it just definitely could become a grind, and it can just, wear you down because it's like a never ending battle that you continually have to fight. But you just have to, I think the old adage is how do you eat an elephant? Not that I'm condoning that, but let's be a little bit more conscious. How do you build a house? Yeah. And the answer is you just have to build it a piece at a time. Because I mean, you can't, even if you have a prefab, there's things that you have to do. But yeah, in construction of anything, you just have to do a little bit at a time and you'll get the task done.
Absolutely. And you've been in business for how long about, would you say?
29 years last month in May. Wow. So yeah, long time.
So, I mean, thinking about all that is, what do you do in your field? Because I think it's really important to always stay on top of the trends and everything. What do you do to continue, to learn in order to just up your game a little bit with your business?
I think the biggest thing is just listening to your customer base and, of course, finding solutions to the problems that they have. I mean, there's always new problems that are going to occur. And I think most people just focus on fixing those problems. But I think if you take those problems and you turn it into a way that you can educate your customer base, then you become a valuable asset to a multitude of people out there. Because I always tell people when I'm out in the field, if you're encountering this issue, then there's probably at least 10,000 other people that are having the same issue. So don't feel bad. But as an entrepreneur, you have to take that and make it where you're educating more people so that you become a valued resource provider. And then people will want to do business with you. Absolutely.
And if there was one piece of advice you can give people who are in business for themselves right now, what would that be?
Take care of your customers, because if you have no customers, you have no business. So you can start out as customers, but you definitely want to develop a relationship with them and let them know that you're always going to be there. I think one of the biggest challenges that I see with businesses is the fact that when customers call, people don't return phone calls back. In fact, that's how we get a lot of our business, because the IT person wasn't considerate enough to say, hey, I'm busy at this time. This is when I can get out to you. And we see that in all areas of business, that people just don't reach out and communicate, and they don't take care of their customer base. But you would need to treat them as you would family members. So if a family member calls and says they need help, then you're going to respond and say, well, yeah, I can, or I can't help. It's all about being considerate and kind of others. And you have to definitely make sure that your customers are taken care of and that you're always, always, always considerate of their needs.
Absolutely. There's a saying out there that the money is always in the follow-up. So I forget who said that, but I want to thank you for being on my show. And could you, just in case somebody heard you and they need help, or, they have a tech question they have for you, do you want to tell the audience on, how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, you can find me at either burtonkelso.com, which is probably easier than my business website, which is called integralnow.com. but you can look up Burton Kelso or Integral on any social media platform and even do a Google search. You'll find me. And if you do have any technology questions, please always feel free to reach out. I'll do my best to answer them for you.
All right. One other question before you go, I forgot to ask this actually, is like, being this is a social media podcast, what is your favorite social media platform?
I would probably have to say LinkedIn right now. And it's just the way that the platform is set up. LinkedIn allows you to give introductions when you meet people. So that way, when a stranger reaches out, you've got the opportunity to introduce yourself, and people are more accepting of your request on LinkedIn than they are on other social media platforms. On Facebook, if you message, it goes into the spam bin. So if you message someone to say, I want to connect, they may not see it. Same thing with Instagram, although Instagram is a little bit more open. But the other social media platforms aren't as connection friendly as LinkedIn is. So, I mean, I've reached out to most of my LinkedIn connections. That's why I've got 17,000 connections on LinkedIn, whereas Facebook, I'm kind of, hovering between 4,000 and 5,000 because I'm not able to reach out and connect and develop those relationships on, say, Facebook, Twitter, even TikTok, like I am on LinkedIn. So that's my favorite.
All right. Well, it's my favorite too. Well, again, thank you for being on my podcast. And to everyone out there, until next week, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at BizGoneSocial for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.